Hulk. And just as we're speaking about drafting strategy, actually, wait, it's RNG have changed. So we saw the Camille locking come in. Yes. Actually, looks like they did want the Galio. Critically, Ultra Prime hadn't actually locked their next pick, right? So at that point, RNG, it's not like they were able to change their picks, seeing what Ultra Prime had next. So that's why they're able to change that. And it looks like in this situation, Ultra Prime going to go with that Jinx and that Zhao. We talked a lot about the top dealing with the matchup. This actually suits RNG better because by picking that Camille in that third pick, we talked about Ultra Prime potentially wanting to respond to it. They don't get a chance now, right? They do have that Camille Galio combo. Very potent. They're banning the Thresh. The next ban from RNG is going to certainly be Tahm Kench. Now for Ultra Prime, I feel like you can look at junglers, right? I feel like support is also an option, but probably junglers here. You have the Zhao, things like the Hecarim are strong in general. You could also see the Trundle is something often picked in the Zhao. They will open up with the Hecarim ban though.
And opening up with that one there, try and just limit Wei. And honestly, Wei has been a bit of a silent carry for the side of RNG. Has been a player that started the season looked very out of sorts, very much something that wasn't looking fantastic, and has slowly but surely found himself back into the setup and back into the form that we know and love him for. We saw him in 2021 just linking up with Xiaohu so damn effectively, and it feels like finally we're getting this top tier jungler. He's never been a Tarzan, he's never been a Canyon, or hell, even you know, any of the top tier of, you know, #1 in the world, but he's always been incredibly consistent, and it's great to see him getting back to that form.
100%. And I think him and Ming was such a powerful pairing as well. I think it's a critical thing. Now, we see the Jarvan band, which is another thing that syncs very well with this Galio. So just want to trim the pool there. Still a fair few options. And actually going to go for the Rek'Sai. So wanting that early pressure out of the pick, which I think kind of makes fair, right? You have a strong scaling top lane, you have a strong scaling AD carry. You want to be able to provide that AD pressure. And if you can lean towards either the side lanes, Rek'Sai frustrating to deal with, but obviously isn't going to scale as well, nearly as well as there's in Zhao. Now for Ultra Prime, support is going to be a big thing. You know, Alistar makes sense in my mind. They've solved it there. It's point and click CC, which the Zeri can't, you know, outplay with mobility, can't dodge. And also a good bodyguard, right? You can knock away the Camille if she does ult the Jinx. If you knock her out of her own Hextech ultimatum, then obviously the effect ends and Jinx can escape. And Ultra Prime just looking at the next pick, going for the Kennen. So again, you know, strong team fighting tool, and if everyone does dive onto Elk, you pop that ultimate, you can disrupt, hopefully keep your AD carry alive.
Honestly, it's gonna be so hard to try and keep Elk alive in these fights. If he does, though, there's not really a lot else outside of the initial engage you get from RNG. You go, they are going full 5v5 right now into this composition. If they lock into this Recon, that is basically just them saying, we are going forward and we do not have a stop button. We do not have breaks. We have to go forward into this. They're actually gonna go for the Gragas. So they still get that good engage, but a little bit of disengage in case they get caught out as well.
Yeah, generally picked up as it's a good matchup into the Alistar, right? It's a bit of a fringe pick, but when we do see it come out, that's one of the reasons, because essentially when he tries to go in for his combo, you can just belly boop him, disrupt it. Not really much you can do to get on top of your AD carry if you're sort of standing on top of your Zeri. And it basically means you can just mitigate that CC, and Gala can play a bit more aggressive. Now, I do have the comps panning out. I do feel like RNG's dive potential absolutely there. It's going to come down a fair bit to execution when it comes to those team fights, right? Can they keep Elk alive is going to be the big question. But kind of before that, looking at the early win conditions, both junglers have a lot of agency. I will say, though, Rek'Sai ganks really hard to deal with, right? The fact you can tunnel over walls, very threatening. So I'm looking at RNG. You have this Rek'Sai, you have the Galio, who's going to be able to, at least in like level 1, be able to push to get prio. And I want to see from level 3 onwards, just trying to make things happen, get your side lanes ahead.
Yeah, I think that's the best way you put it. The first few levels, you know, getting the tunnels behind people, the extra kind of CC engage you get with things like the Camille and, of course, the Galio and those solo lanes is going to be a fantastic start for RNG. And it's about, for Ultra Prime, it's about surviving. It's about getting to a point where you know you can take these fights. The Jinx will scale exceptionally. You have decent engage with the Alistar comboed in with the Zhao. So you have ways of keeping yourself survive. The only thing I could tell or see in my mind, funny enough, before we saw the Alistar locked in was I would have loved a Renata, just because this team from RNG is just going to constantly run into you. I don't know if it would have worked perfectly, but I think this would have been like the perfect kind of example of how Renata can be absolutely abhorrently good in those with those takeover. Because I'm just going to be honest with you, Aux, I haven't seen a good hostile takeover yet. I'm just going to go ahead and say it. It hasn't happened. So We're going to wait and see how this one all pans out. I'm going to stop gushing over Renata as we jump onto the Rift for game 1 of this best of 3. And we'll see how it all pans out. Like you said, RNG going to have the early ganking power with that Rek'Sai. It's going to be on Ultra Prime to see if they can survive it and get to those big level 6 power spikes.
Yeah, and I know it's not really like a conversation about this game. I'm actually going to hold that thought completely because we could see Ming. He could just body slam over the wall.
Oh, Xiaohu going to run in with the Predator.
Oh, bro.
No, he just needed to hold it for like half a second. And yeah, Xiaohu, we cursed him. We talked about him too positively.
Yeah, and actually that's kind of major because by going W level... that's why they take Zeri, the only AD carry where you can shoot at your teammates.
Actively BM them, being like, what the hell was that?
Yeah. Now, a critical thing with that is Xiaohu starting W level 1 means he's not going to be able to contest Prio as easily. And really, for Cryin, you're kind of waiting for level 2, level 3, where Ryze can normally really control the lane. But you can see here, Xiaohu can't really step up too much. Saying that, he does get the taunt off, so Cryin maybe not handling things the best there. But either way, focus in the city game is going to be on those junglers, right? Particularly the Rek'Sai, once he hits level 3. So much gank potential, so much setup, and I think it's going to be interesting to see how the lanes end up developing in terms of where you can apply pressure. Bot lane, RNG bot lane really doing a lot here, and that's the thing with the Alistar compared to the Gragas. Gragas, your body slam is your dash, whereas Alistar doesn't have the headbutt level 1, can't really pose as much threat.
Yeah, and it's always going to be a little bit more favored in terms of the Zeri as well. You get those auto attacks out a little bit earlier. But once the level 2 hits, as you can see here, Alk and ShiauC recognizing they will have that headbutt pulverized combination very, very shortly. You combo that in with something like the Chompers. You're going to have a lot of single target CC to be able to lock down someone for an extended period of time. And these early levels make you, you're just squishy. There's no other way to put it. You are just very, very squishy at these first few levels. So we'll see what they're able to do as Wei finds himself now into the mid lane. Xiaohu going to have the Predator and immediately going to try and find Cryin. Now he gets the taunt to the right spot. Even with the flash over the wall, we do see them flashing in. We're going to see the junglers joining in. It's a 2v2 for the Ages, but first blood to Xiaohu. He will lose his life, or will he?
No.
The knock up, never mind. The audacious charge just about comes back off of cooldown, and Wei will have to be satisfied with a 1-for-1 trade.
Yep, so ends up being a 1-for-1. First blood going to RNG does mean a minor gold advantage on that front. And what I will say is that I think the flash more valuable for Cryin, right? Because basically any point from now on for the next 5 minutes, Xiaohu can simply pop Predator, walk up on Cryin, and they can repeat that gank. So I'm looking away to potentially go for a play like that again, find the opportunity to punish Cryin once more. But good moves from Hacker to be there to cover his mid laner. If he wasn't there, would have been pretty disadvantageous just to lose that 1-for-0.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's have a look at the replay here just very, very quickly. And again, this is just the power of the Predator Galio, and there's not really a lot you could do. I don't know why Cryin... I feel like if he kept walking there instead of going for the Rune Prison, he should have been able to get himself out of the thing, but it would have been close.
I feel like one of the things, if he doesn't go for the Rune Prison, then Xiao just keeps running at him, right? It's like, damned if you do, damned if you don't. Either way, it just kind of shows the power of this Predator Galio against an immobile champion. You just walk them, right? And speaking of walking at them, Xiao going for a little trip in the top lane. There is a ward in the river that will spot him. The question is, will Aliez be able to get away in time?
Yes, like he will. He'll be just fine. But yeah, like I'm loving this aggression coming out here from Xiaohu. He's already got his Ionian Boots of Lucidity, so he's saying, look, I'm just looking to get this cooldown, you know, my taunt off cooldown as quick as I possibly can. I'm looking to get out into the waves as much as I possibly can. And he's not even losing that much. Like, yes, he's technically down a level right now, but he's going to soak up all this farm. And this is kind of a similar situation to the Twisted Fate. You know, he's not really looking to dominate this lane. He's looking to affect other lanes.
I will say, though, I mean, because of that gank earlier, the wave was, like, pushed into him. He missed a lot of farm, right? He is substantially behind in CS. Like, the fact he got that first blood and he's still down in gold. Like, there is a cost to this. And obviously, you know, you don't pick Galio to, like, scale and farm up, but there's still value to being fed, right? And obviously, you will catch that bit of a wave and equalize a bit more, but he's still down. I think that's something to be said. So, you know, I kind of came into this expecting Xiaohu perhaps to be, you know, playing the matchup very aggressively, looking to... in terms of the player matchup, but really he is sort of gone for this Galio pick so that he can impact the map as much as possible and outmatch Cryin in his own game, right? We always praised Cryin when he was on RNG as being this roam heavy player who would set up his team. Xiaohu trying to emanate that same sort of play style.
That's the big thing. Xiaohu has been known just to be good at pretty much all play styles he's ever tried to go for.
Pretty good.
He's all right. I still maintain he's probably the GOAT of the LPL, and you know, I'll die on that hill. But it is going to be, you know, very interesting to see how RNG kind of deal with this Ryze once the Ryze gets that realm warp, which is just ticked over, and they have gotten themselves now. So you've got yourself 2 ultimates and 2 massive globals here. One will be able to react to the other, and it's going to be similar to what we talked about earlier. Those jungle picks. Oh, that word is a little sad, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, they wouldn't really be able to contest it anyway. It's whatever.
I know, but it's just.
Although maybe, honestly, the fact it's a control ward, it could just be that he was trying to sweep out the vision behind the pick. That is a common wooden spot. I'm gonna, you know,
you giving him the benefit of the doubt.
Benefit of the doubt, yeah, I will in this situation. Really hard to say, but either way,
you're a nicer man than me. I'm just like, no, you failed me, then perish. But yeah, and first dragon goes to RNG. So they might not have the gold lead in the early stages. They are losing in the top side and the mid lane in terms of CS. But of course, in terms of the early dragon control, it is theirs to have. And luckily for them, there isn't going to be a Cloud Soul Rift. So they're happy enough to keep this stacking.
Yeah, and I think there's 2 things I kind of want to draw attention to. I'm saying this as Wei, so he did a good job of establishing vision around mid. They've been looking for this gank on Cryin. They're trying to find this window. Flash is coming up in not too much time. They kind of need to make this work now, or the window's going to have passed.
Yeah, they're going to look for it right now. Here we go. But just you can see Xiaohu not quite in position, and with those brown bags on Cryin, he does have fairly decent movement speed to try and just walk away from these things, and they're not going to commit their flash just yet. Try and kill off Cryin. So opportunity not quite taken, but they won't lose anything because of it.
Well, that's the window closed, right? Cryan's flash is going to be up by the time you're going to be able to loop around for a next gank. And so that early play we saw, that was a 1-for-1. As I said, the main thing was like the return gank. If you can find that opportunity again, that's where you can really punish. It hasn't come. Cryin has his flash again. It's going to make making that play in the future harder. And as a result, you kind of missed that. And speaking of windows, we're now hit level 6, right? Way on this Rek'Sai, we talked about the ganking pressure this pick has pre-6. We got 1 gank. It was matched. That's it. And I feel like as a result, we kind of missed out on that pressure that we'd hope to see from Wei. And ultimately, I can say that's a success for Ultra Prime. Now, Bin's in a bit of an uncomfortable spot here on the top side, trying to push this wave in. And it does mean this potential setup is going to take his time and not push up too heavily. Wei is in the vicinity and might need to cover him. But essentially, it's one of those situations where when a wave is pushing away from you, you need your jungler there to cover, because if you overextend for it, very easy just to get ganked and die.
Yeah, well, with the pressure you have on top side, we are going to see, Elk and Gala going to be in a little bit of a 1v1. There's the ultimate coming down. Look at the damage this Zeri has. The exhaust has to be put in. They even get the Super Mega Det Rocket. The flash and exhaust used, but Gala's going to go down in a 1-for-1. It's both solo kills to the AD carries. Now you don't have those massive players here for this 4v4, because they're going to be miles away before they can join this. But it looks like Ultra Prime are going to be able to take this, because RNG do not feel comfortable going into that 4v4, especially with the Kennen on the right.
Yeah, I think a critical thing as well, ShiauC level 6, Ming isn't. Something often we're talking about is support being level 6 for that fight around the Herald. The fact that ShiauC is, he can just dive in, pop that ultimate, soak so much damage, and they don't have the Gragas cast to mitigate in terms of pressure now. They have some trouble.
Is he, though? Is Wei going to actually force him out away from the side of the things? Wei did take a very unfavorable trade, but knew he had been to keep him in check, so that's flash burnt by the Kennen, and that means those flash slicing Maelstrom's not going to be available just yet. Let's have a look at the replay here. This is just Gala. I feel like he got everything he should have gotten, and then he just goes a little bit too far forward.
Yeah, I mean, you could have taken it as a summoner advantage, but knew he could find the kill angle going in like this, and it's one of those situations where you're not getting out again. It's an even trade. Both traded all summoners, so it's kind of just a neutral play on the back of that. I think, you know, the technical correct play would be to not flash over the wall and keep the summon advantage. I can't fault him for going for the big moves, right?
You gotta go. You miss all the shots you don't take, isn't that what you usually say?
Exactly. And, you know, here's an example of that spot where you often see
I was
wards
gonna
placed.
say, you know what, Hacker, getting value out of that ward from earlier. I'm sorry, I was not a believer, and I've been shown up now.
There you go.
Don't I look the fool?
Yeah, and it's actually very hard to clear that ward as a melee champion. Like, you kind of need your AD carry to come over and assist, because if you, for example, if the Gragas body slams over the wall to clear it, like, there is so much opportunity just to get clapped on and die.
Wait to see where they want to go with it, because say collapse on and die. We haven't seen any real Realm Warps or Heroes entrances just yet coming out from the two mid laners. Wei coming back into the mid lane. No teleport here for Cryin, so if he was to die, he would lose a little bit of farm, but it's still a Ryze, so he's still totally fine to kind of go for it. Oh, as I say that, he gets caught out just a little bit. He's going to have to flash back immediately. And they do get themselves a summoner. Yeah, Phase Rush, he's just so quick, man. I don't know what it is. It just feels like on Ryze, he just gets it so much quicker, and he is so much quicker.
I think the thing is, because he's like one of those combo champions, he can very quickly proc it with, 3 abilities in quick succession. But also, he can proc his own movement speed, right, with his runes. So it's like a double combo. You get Phase Rush movement speed and proc your own, and you're just completely out of there. So a lot of strength in that regard. And I think a thing to be said for these mid laners, often when you see two roaming mids, like here we have the wait, I'm gonna hold the floor. We're seeing a bit of action.
We are gonna see a bit of action. ShiauC gets caught up and he's gonna blow his own ultimate. So we're seeing little by little RNG. They're not gaining kills as such yet, but they are gaining pressure. Flash burnt in mid, the support losing his ultimate. That makes the Alistar very, very squishy. And now we can see Cryin in a little bit of trouble. They flash in, they get the knock up. They are gonna get the taunt as well. And he will go down to Wei. You repeat the gank with no flash, you are going to die.
That's kind of what I was looking for earlier, right? Is they get the flash, they repeat it, they find the pressure. Didn't really find it pre-6, but they still find the opportunity here. Wei flashing in to secure it, and that means they still have Xiaohu's flash, so they can still potentially make a repeat gank later. But for now, they're going to use that pressure to pick up the second dragon. And just to go back to my point I was trying to set up earlier, often we see, like, when both teams have a roaming mid, right? If it's like TF, Galio, Ryze, you kind of think, oh yeah, we're going to see tons of action, both teams just popping those cooldowns all the time, and we'll have fights in the side lanes. It seems like that would happen, and we're going to get a bit of that right now.
Here's the tried and tested combo, the Demacian Hex Gates of Death. The Xiaohu picks it up. Does he go down? He does. Yes, he does. Ooh, that's unfortunate there. So a 1-for-1 trade. You got to feel like Ultra Prime not going to be too unhappy with that.
Yeah, ultimately, Xiaohu was already a bit lower, ends up taking tower aggro first, and just enough damage to take him down. It ends up just not being favorable as a result for RNG. They commit that tool, and now Cryin has the advantage until Realm Warp. But just to finish my point I kept trying to set up, when both teams have those globals, it kind of holds the other accountable, right? You can't just freely go for those plays because you can be matched on it, right? And the critical thing over there was that Cryin was on a reset, so they can find it. But now, Ultra Prime are the ones with the pressure advantage, okay? They have the Realm Warp in pocket. They can be the ones to be proactive with play. They are just going to throw down that Herald mid, take the 2 plates, lower the tower down. And that means there's also pressure. If Xiaohu roams again, they could just lose their mid tier 1, right? You have to constantly be on edge as a result.
Unfortunately, though, for the side of Ultra Prime, Cryin was not in range to get any of that yummy plate gold. 3 plates did end up going over to Hacker, though, so got himself a nice little 480 gold bounty for himself, as we can see the ultimate coming in. This is just a delay backs, and is it going to hit? Yes, it is, and that's going to stop Gala from resetting. Not quite sure what he's going to be, kind of delayed from doing as such. No Rift Herald for a minute, no Dragon for 3.5. So
it's just annoying, right?
It is.
And the thing is,
really
the cooldown's so low, like it's already a quarter off, right? There's very little opportunity cost for that. But you delay tempo, and as you said, probably not going to make a huge difference here in this situation. But it just, if you repeatedly do that over the course of the game, you can actually find some windows. I've seen opportunities where supports have been hit when they're trying to reset for wards before an objective, like a minute before, and it's, I swear, it's so frustrating.
It is very, very tilting, but Zeri should be able to get himself out. Wei will know where Elk is. Maybe trying to see if they can go for it. Yep, they're going to try and commit to this. We're going to see there. They're going to try and get the flash and the exhaust out straight away. Cryin comes in with the Realm Warp, but Elk has gone down. They will trade out, though, the jungler for the AD carry. And now RNG are a little bit caught between a rock and a hard place. There is the Kennen ultimate all on top of the back line. As we can finally see Bin join this fight. But look at Gala free hitting now on this backside. The Zeri is just getting so much free reign as Bin needs to use the Hextech ultimatum to try and keep himself alive. Hacker just has to back away as look at Gala go. He's getting these resets. He's getting himself ramped up and ready to go. ShiauC needs to try and back himself away, but you cannot run from this massive triple kill. Gala steps up huge.
And that's the problem, right? You invest your resources and don't have any left for the Zeri and Gala. I mean, this is why this champion is just so insane, right? If you're unchecked, you just ramp so hard. And initially, right, RNG, they find this pick on an Elk. It's a little bit messy, I'll be honest, right? I think the critical thing is Xiaohu I think he was trying to channel a taunt for the Ryze. I'm really not sure what went on there. But either way, a lot of tools invested by RNG. Great opportunity for Ultra Prime. But the problem is, they commit so heavily here, and they just disrespect the Zeri. And Zeri pops the ult early. Gala just ramping. Every single time connecting with these shots, you're just seeing more and more stacks added. And Bin comes in just to buy more time, essentially, for the Zeri to ramp. But it gets to the point where no ult available for the Kennen, no combo for the Alistar. Hacker's ult times out, and they just have nothing left. No gas in the tank to deal with this champion.
And the great thing about the Zeri is your auto attack is on your queue. You don't need to see them. You just gotta point in the direction of where you think they're gonna be. So triple kill over to Gala. That puts him massively ahead. He goes back, picks himself up a Tiamat, and that's going to be huge now for RNG. We will see the second Herald being taken by Ultra Prime and dropped off into the top side, as they do have a 3-man stack there, but they did lose tier 1 in the bot lane. They now have to deal with the pressure in the mid lane, and there's a couple of questions coming in now for Ultra Prime of how do you react to this. You're still technically ahead, but this Zeri is getting very big.
Yeah, they kind of need to get a tier 2 here to make this worth, right? One of the big things is they could have just thrown this mid and got the tier 1 mid, which is more important. They commit to the side lane because they want the gold, right? They get that tier 2, which is worth a fair bit. And so they will trade up overall in terms of gold, but RNG, pretty even, and they have 2 dragons in pocket. The next one is about to spawn. If you look at the area, there is vision control completely in favor for RNG. So Ultra Prime going to find mid prior and move down. We see Xiaohu going for a reset. A lot of wards in the enemy jungle from TTP to. And remember, we set this up before the game. It's about killing Elk. He has no flash. It's about getting on him. It's about taking him out and then winning the subsequent team fight. And really for Ultra Prime, it's like playing the peel game most of all.
Yeah, we can see there Gala just throwing in. Flashes away though as ShiauC goes forward. Doesn't use his Unbreakable Will just yet as the dragon has spawned. Wei is in the pit. They finally have Xiaohu who TP'd in onto the backside. So he's going to try and find a flank as they go straight in. ShiauC though loses almost all of his HP. Bing goes in but not quite able to find anything. The Everfrost completely whiffs. This is very disorganized here from the side of RNG. Gala's going to need to have to do it again. There's one. There's two. But he gets locked up there by the ruined prison and has to run away straight away. The rest of his team needs to do the rest of the damage as Hacker goes in. They're going to try and get a third one there onto Gala, who's still doing damage over the wall as Cryin keeps himself and his team alive in this fight. He flashes in trying to find Wei, but he just can't find them. These health bars are so low. The flash Everfrost into the taunt and sniped down with the Prey Seeker. RNG with a very scrappy engage, but at the end of it all, they get the kills and they get soul points.
And honestly, it felt like RNG were just bullying their former mid laner there. It felt like Cryin permanently trying to find these low HP targets and they're just running circles around him. It's a pretty messy fight initially from the side of RNG, right? We see the engage come through from Ultra Prime. ShiauC gets blown up instantly, and then Wei's waiting for a window, and they kind of just sacrifice Bin. They're like, it's whatever, you're out of position, not going to go for it. But then Xiaohu gets a big taunt. Gala's still ramping. The AoE gets those 2 kills, and then he only just escapes. And Cryin, he's like, I'm going to flash, I'm going to kill him, but knows he won't be able to catch him because of that extra movement he granted, right? So he backs away, starts looking to continue the fight on this front, and then again, he gets Wei so low, trying to find the kill. Once again, isn't able to find it because of the tunnel away. And it's these being able to traverse over the walls just make it so hard for a champion like Ryze to catch you.
It's just so frustrating. You can imagine looking at that fight, Ultra Prime thinking, cool, we just got Bin out of the way. We still had Elk available to us. Cryan's dealing out machine gun Ryze damage, and it just doesn't, unfortunately, come together. That was another 3 kills going over to Gala as well. He is 7-1-1. Already got himself a Titanic Hydra. You're also looking down the barrel of a Soul Point now, or Dragon Soul here for RNG. So you just got to try and hope that the pieces fall together because the extra mobility is crippling me right now. RNG just getting out with the skin of their teeth.
And honestly, Ocean Soul, pretty good here for RNG. I think a big thing is I often think the Ocean Soul is better when you have tankier members, right? Because if someone gets one shot, Ocean Soul does nothing. But if they take a bit of time to go down, then obviously you get a lot of value out of it. Gala is going to be tanky on this Zeri. That's a big thing with Zeri. You end up so bulky because the items you build already has 2 items that grant a fair bit of HP. So in those longer fights where you're ramping up, you're also sustaining quite effectively. And it's going to make things really difficult for Ultra Primes. It's a 2,000 gold deficit, but they have about 3 minutes to work out how to handle this next team fight. And the big thing is we praised Elk as being a massive factor for this team. I haven't really seen too much from him, right? Hasn't really been able to find those pop-off plays on the Jinx. And with Gala being so strong, you kind of need your Jinx to start getting those resets in the fight, start finding momentum.
Momentum is a big thing in the side of Ultra Prime. They need, as you say, just to get those resets, get themselves into a good position where L can just free fire. He is only down about 1,000 gold as we come up into the about 21-minute mark. So he's not even that far behind. Still keeping good toe in terms of items. He's got himself a second, so he's sitting there on the rapid-fire cannon. ShiauC in a little bit of trouble here. He's going to have to force to be popped his ultimate, but he's still being run down. The ignite is good. He tries to go in. Yes, he does get Gala. They will trade him back, but that's 100% worth for the side of Ultra Prime. 1,000 gold shutdown going over to Cryin. ShiauC, that was beautiful.
100%, and it's just a bit overzealous from RNG, right? They had the red buff from Gala. They also had the ignite from Ming. They're like, we have enough true damage. But it's still a very extended takedown, the Alistar. And the fact is you give 1,000 gold shutdown over to the Ryze, and you lose your mid lane tier 1 from it. So a definite reprieve that was needed for Ultra Prime there. 2 minutes until that dragon, 2 minutes until that potential soul that we're looking towards. But we're going to replay first. And yeah, you know, they're like, we have the damage to burn ShiauC down. But he popped his ultimate, and it's really, a lot of it is that true damage from the red buff and that ignite that's burning through. But just a great flash play coming out to catch out the Zeri. Just easily pick up a kill where Gala wasn't expecting it. And I think a critical thing is that ShiauC has the Ionians, right? And also has inspiration. Because you remember the last time that ShiauC used his flash, it was to force Gala's flash, right? But because of those tools he has, because he has the Ionians and Cosmic Inspiration, his flash is up sooner. So he was able to find that play.
Big moment there, and again, it went over to someone who you pretty much wanted all going over towards. It goes over to Cryin, so he picks himself up.
Well, I would have liked if Elk was there to get a last.
He wasn't there, but at least he didn't go over to ShiauC. That's my point. He went to a carry, and that's all that matters. But he has got himself his Fimbulwinter now, so he's pretty damn tanky coming into this one. Looks like RNG setting themselves up with a minute to go, or just under it till that dragon spawns. They still have themselves 1,000 gold lead. It was 2,000, but 1,000 gold shutdown will trade it off. Way now, with his Edge Overnight, should be able to keep himself safe and tunnel himself right out of any real danger. And now we wait to see. You do have full summoners on both AD carries, on both top lane and mid laners. The only one we're missing is on ShiauC, who obviously burned it just in that last play. So we'll have to see where this fight goes. And RNG, they're waiting to see what the side of Ultra Prime do. I feel like we need a flank coming out here from Aliez. Aliez needs to get himself on this Kennen onto that backside to try and just lock down the Zeri.
I think the problem is, it's like if you end up jumping on the Zeri and they end up jumping on your Jinx, the Jinx is definitely going to die. Zeri actually has a chance to outplay, and that's, I think, the concern. You can see Ultra Prime trying to group up, and it's really RNG looking for these angles of approach. Ultra Prime just trying to move forwards and being threatening on the sidelines. It really comes down to Gala, I feel, though. He's so fed right now, so strong. Does he live? Does he die? That will be the question for whether they come out ahead in this fight.
So tanky as well. And you see, again, with the Q being his auto attacks, he's able to just throw these out constantly. With the Titanic Hydra, he will just do serious amounts of damage. And Bin saying, look, if you're not willing to deal with mid, we are willing to take it. So you don't have to fight this if you're on the side of RNG. If you don't feel like you want it, you can just leave it up. You have 3 dragons. It looks like Ultra Prime are going to try and commit to it. ShiauC goes in. We are going to see the ultimate coming out from Zeri as they finally get the full damage down, as Cryin trying to do the damage here, but a 3-man taunt. As we can see, Elk goes golden. There's the flank, but is it good enough? Gala's kiting so damn well. They've got the Alistar, they've got the Jinx, and Gala's not quite done with this one. It's soul for the side of RNG, and all the kills they could possibly want. It ends up going triples for all the side of RNG. Another 3 kills to Gala, and that's going to be all she wrote, Aux.
Ocean Soul, and they're going to be able to pick the Baron up as well. Mid tower 2 might be forfeit. Actually, Bin doesn't have the waves. He's going to head straight towards the Baron. But Gala, once again, they're not able to take him down. He's just too bulky, too tanky. They don't have the damage to shred through him. And then he's able to turn it around. And RNG get everything they want and more.
They even had to use the Zhonyas off of Xiaohu. The stopwatch from Wei. They had so much. Elk, if you're going to make a miracle steal, it's got to be now, but it's a little bit too little, too late. They're going to forfeit up the Baron, the Soul, and honestly, this game feels like it's all in RNG's favor.
Yeah, I mean, you can see the replay of the fight. So Ultra Prime commit heavily onto the Dragon, and they look for this flank angle, but watch Xiaohu go straight on the Elk. This Jinx just doesn't get to play the game. And then look at the difference on the other side, right? Kennen onto Gala, manages to flash out, and is actually tanky enough to withstand the damage. That's the critical thing, right? Still alive here, despite the fact you just had a Kennen and Xin Zhao on your face. And that's kind of the thing, right? You know, if RNG get onto your AD carry, onto the Jinx, that's it done. But even if you get onto Gala, he's so strong right now. He's so bulky. There's no guarantee you actually take him down. And as a result, RNG managing to come out ahead. And now in a position where with this Baron in hand, a lot of tower gold they can pick up. They can look to really snowball this lead.
Yeah, and look, how do you engage on this? You know, Gala's going to be able to walk up to these towers pretty damn easily. The one thing that we usually say about Zeri is that she doesn't have great siege. She is very relatively low range, but with the Baron now kind of buffering that, getting that negative off of you, you're not really going to be too dissatisfied for it. As Bing gets himself on the side push. Bin having a very quiet game, but not one that he hasn't been involved in either. He's been the big assist, shall we say, for Gala. Like you mentioned in that first triple kill fight for Gala on the Zeri, he has been the guy to just give more time to separate the side of Ultra Prime from taking him down. And this is what makes RNG so damn scary. It's not just Xiaohu in the mid lane. They have multiple threats in multiple lanes. And I feel like Gala, since last year, 2021, where he had that massive spring finals performance, has just been getting better and better and better as time goes on.
Yeah, and I feel like the split we haven't been like a ton of pop-up performances from him, but when it's needed, he has stepped up, and this is definitely one of them. I mean, 11, 2, and 3 on the Zeri. You know, having the confidence to take this, leaving the Jinx for Elk, and then being comfortable to take it to these team fights. And I think they really have been delivering in that regard. Elk has just felt subdued. He hasn't had a real chance to play. And at this point, Hacker and the Zhao, you know, he soaks damage, but he's not super relevant. The Ryze is tanky, has that Ryze now, so he's going to like slow people down, but isn't really doing a ton of damage. Elk really needs to be sort of the driving force in these team fights, and he just doesn't have the goal. Doesn't have his third item completed, whereas Gala has that Runehounds working towards a Black Cleaver next. It's super hard to deal with, and the gold lead is just growing more and more. Currently 6,500 gold, and the stats from that Ocean Soul as well coming in. It is looking pretty rough right now for Ultra Prime.
Very, very rough. They need to try and find a miracle fight where they catch out Gala. He has no flash at the moment, and only really the Gragas to keep him safe. But as you can see there, just 1-2 auto attacks that just kind of trickle in with the Titanic Hydra. Just makes it so difficult. Now there's a significant gap between the AD carries. It is a 3,000 gold lead, and we're going to look like about an item and a half in favor of Gala over his counterpart Elf. And that's just going to be harder and harder for them to defend this. I don't really see them losing this tier 2 as the Baron buff does end up wearing off, but you've got Baron in 3 minutes, Elder in 2. When we've seen how these team fights are going, RNG have just said, cool, we'll fight you at every single objective. We don't care. Yeah, I don't think it necessarily gets better as well. Gala 2 levels up now in Elk on top of that gold differential, so super strong. And again, it comes down to right now, RNG kind of have to make a mistake, right? They are so strong in the fights. They really need to, you know, overcommit onto Elk. Elk survives, and Gala just can't find headway in the fight. But that's a lot of ifs, a lot of buffs, And right now, Gala's going to reset, pick up his 4th item and a stopwatch as well. They know these next fights are going to be the game enders, right? If you get Elder, if you get Baron, RNG's next one should be enough to finish off the game. They are looking towards that dragon in the minute 30, already starting to establish some really vision. And the thing is now, Ultra Prime have to be really cautious because they don't have any towers anywhere near this dragon. So a lot of ground to cover. RNG can just push in this mid wave, sweep through the area, clear out your vision, and then you have a long path to even get to the dragon where, you know, you could walk into a brush, there could be Xiaohu, Bin could be on a flank. Makes it super risky. And look, I know the Rek'Sai is an interesting pick. I don't think it was a bad pick whatsoever, but it definitely wasn't the thing that won RNG this game. I think the composition itself is just very one track, but one track in a good way, because it just does exactly what it says on the tin. It's like it 5v5s. It keeps everyone alive. It goes for those big disengaging, or sorry, big engaging ultimates like the Hextech Ultimatum, like the Hero's Entrance, and you're just trying to keep your Gala, you know, the Zeri alive, which despite not being a crit carry is pretty damn good at putting down that DPS.
Yeah, I mean, the AoE is just insane. I think the thing with Zeri is that we've definitely seen Zeri flop, right? And it's usually when teams have a lot of tools to deal with it and shut it down. But the problem is, Ultra Prime just haven't been able to find success on that front. And now they are trying to push up as a group and contest that vision. This is kind of what I was talking about. They're trying to approach the dragon, but they don't have the vision, and just even getting into range of it is a bit of a difficult task at this point. Now they are looking for Bin, but he should just be able to jump out of this one.
I was gonna say he's got the hook shot, but he's gonna get himself out. That's gonna be the Hero's Entrance to keep him alive. ShiauC though taking about half his HP, and they don't really do any damage whatsoever to this Camille.
Remember this Ocean Soul?
Yeah, it's Ocean Soul, and you've lost your flashes. We see Xiaohu just trying to basically cover them off. They're pincering them in. They're saying there's nowhere for you to go, nowhere for you to hide. And they're going to try and get the slicing maelstrom, but it's in defense. And Elk is dead. Kennen to follow. It's a massacre in this bot side as this Zeri wrings the necks of Ultra Prime. Triple kill again for Gala. That's got to be his 4th of the game. And this game will finally be done. The ace to RNG. Ultra Prime got caught.
Yeah, just absolutely decimated. Another triple for Gala. It's been the game of triples, and now they're just going to push in, look to potentially end the game on this one. They have a wave as well and long death timers. Just feels like RNG in these fights so crisp, so clean. Ultra Prime never really with the hope.
Again, this is why we have such high hopes for the side of RNG. They went with a composition that they know they can execute on. They look so damn good in every single point. Every answer from Ultra Prime was given. A massive no from the side of RNG. And that's just going to be as easy as it likes. We wanted to see a commanding and confident game from RNG. We got it in that one.
100%. I mean, they honestly just really comfortably managed to handle this one. Felt like the early game was a little bit back and forth. There was some mess, right? It felt like it wasn't super clean. We didn't find those early Rek'Sai ganks, but when it came to the team fights, the execution was just there. And I think the big thing was that Ultra Prime didn't have fantastic tools to deal with the Zeri, right? You know, the Alistar was fine, the Kennen was okay, but it just really felt like they you know, in that first skirmish, they committed too heavily. They didn't have anything left for Gala, and they just disrespected the Zeri, and you could see the damage coming out. Humongous. You can see the trajectory of the game as well. It was after that fight, really, where Gala found that big lead. They just lost control of the game.
Yeah, and it just felt like after that fight, it was never in doubt that RNG were going to win. A little slower than probably most people would have expected, but you don't need to go super fast when Gala's going super fast. He's just able to constantly get up to those points, and he's so tanky, putting up such consistent damage. And you can see that with ShiauC, even with his unbreakable will, he looked like paper going up against this absolute, you know, kind of menace that was the Zeri in the bot side, because of that Black Cleaver procs, because of the constant armor shredding and the constant poke he was receiving. He just wasn't able to do anything. And again, this Kennen was great in terms of the 1v1 for against Bin. You can see he did a fair bit in terms of that matchup, but when you're not able to get onto Gala, when you're using your ultimate, you're slicing Maelstrom defensively to keep yourself alive against Xiaohu, that's just a bad time.
And I felt like, you know, even when CC connected to Gala, often he was able to kite it out so that there was no real follow-up damage. I think that was the problem, right? They just never at one point were able to commit everything onto this Kennen and just destroy it. And then it felt like in teamfights, Elk just couldn't find a place to position, right? And constantly Xiaohu or Bin were just these big threats that were an absolute pain in his side. So I think, you know, compositionally, I think there wasn't, honestly, you know, I think more answers to Zeri is a big thing, I'd say, for Ultra Prime. But ultimately, this was just RNG playing better.
Yeah, straight up playing better. We'll see if Ultra Prime can change anything up or if RNG will